guys, today we're gonna be having a cookies and cream party. Woo. So let's get started.
It seems to me that there's two separate issues about things like the Danish cartoons which get conflated. One is the question about should the cartoons have been published in the first place. Now, it seems to me any newspaper editor, anybody on a picture desk in a newspaper or a magazine, every day is presented with material where they have to make the decision, is this putting in the magazine or not? And I think we can also agree that maybe no two picture editors would make the same decisions. Some of them would print all those things, some of them would print one or two, some of them would print none of them. So on the one hand, you've got the argument about quality, and so should the things be in the paper?
Yeah.
Myself, I think, to be greeted by the Prophet Muhammad saying, would you please stop doing it because we're running out of virgins?
Yes.
Now, that has the great merit of being funny.
That has a bit of bite to it.
Yeah. And actually, the one with the turban, the balm in the turban, was similarly a picture editor that I would have published, and many of the others were just beyond bland. So that's one issue. Would you do it, would you not do it? But it seems to me that there's the second issue, which is what you were talking about, I think, is what happens when the subject of violence arises. And at that point, it seems to me the subject changes. The subject is no longer about whether you should publish or not publish these things, but about how do you respond to violence.
Yes.
Do you respond to it with cowardice or courage? And at that point, it seems to me that every newspaper in the world should publish the Danish cartoons. Not because they start talking about the cartoons as objects, were they good or bad, were they offensive or inoffensive. That's one half of the point, but the second half of the point is the question of the response to violence. And I think that's one of the most, I think, mealy-mouthed pieces of language that is developed to justify this kind of behavior is a kind of reinvention of the meaning of the word respect. It seemed to me, when I was growing up, that respect meant that you took people seriously. It didn't mean that you never disagreed with them. To respect someone is to say, okay, we'll take on what you have to say, and if I don't agree with it, I will offer a counter-argument. The idea that it would be disrespectful to someone to in any way disagree from their system of belief is a new idea, is a new meaning of the term respect. And it seems to me to have nothing to do with respect. And what it actually means is I'm too afraid to do it. So what you have is cowardice masquerading as respect.
Returning now to our top story, the outrage in the Muslim world over caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad. Any depictions of Muhammad are offensive to the faithful. But in many Western nations, freedom of expression is a sacred right as well, including the freedom to express offensive ideas. Well, for some perspective on this, I spoke with columnist and author Christopher Hitchens and Ahmed Yunus with the Muslim Public Affairs Council. This is a debate. They do not pull any punches. And we began by talking about the decision of many media outlets, including CNN, to pixelate the images of Muhammad.
Now, I know, as well as you do, that you have not done that in order to avoid sparing the hurt feelings of my fellow guest. You've done it because you're afraid of retaliation and of intimidation. Now, I'd like to ask him and anyone else who agrees with him is watching, is that the relationship they want to have with the free press? Because if we have to use this stupid word offensive, those of us who believe in the Enlightenment and the Constitution and the First Amendment are very much offended by the mad, babyish conduct. But we don't go out and kidnap the nearest Muslim we can find and take him hostage till someone apologizes. We don't violate diplomatic immunity. We don't, which is one of the most precious things in the international community, much more precious than the right of Muslims not to have their feelings hurt. The whole thing is a scandal. and we're all running scared from it.
Okay, let's let
This has
Ahmed
to stop
Yunus.
now.
Ahmed, jump in here. I know you want to respond.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not about hurt feelings. It's about strategic discourse. The people that we see on TV are... hold on, Christopher. The people that we see on TV are less than 1% of the Muslim masses. The gravamen of the discussion here is the vast majority of Muslim moderates that are offended from their role in a post-9/11 and in a conflict-oriented situation, which is at the apex of counterterrorism, at the apex of an engagement, of a discussion of hearts and minds. Of course, freedom of expression stands, and no one is asking the Danish government to stifle expression. But
Yes, they
freedom
are.
of expression,
Yes, they are.
hold on, Christopher, freedom of expression and the responsibilities of discussion, the responsibilities of those with power and privilege to ensure that there is comity between different groups, a belated response by the government, and then a continuing of republishing and reprinting these cartoons. We have freedom of expression here in the United States, but the president and the major media have chosen not to engage. The Pope believes in freedom of expression, but he has condemned these cartoons.
No, he
It's
doesn't.
about
Okay,
strategic
Christopher, I want to let Christopher in here. Christopher, I want to
What is this babble? The State Department has said that it apologizes and it thinks these things are offensive, and it's done so without, as far as I know, any permission from the American people to say that we take that view. I'm glad to hear you say it's only 1% of the Muslim world that takes this opinion. In that case, why are we treating the leaders of these lynch mobs and bullying gangs as if they were representative of your religion?
That's a very good
And
question.
why is it that we can't get condemnation so easily or at all when, for example, Shia mosques and funeral processions in Iraq are blown up by Muslim fascists?
Christopher,
Isn't that sacrilege to you?
Ahmed Yunus,
The
jump in.
vast majority of Muslims condemn attacks on Shia communities, condemn attacks on Christian communities in
Name
Muslim
one,
countries.
name one.
The Council on American Islamic Relations sent a delegation to Iraq to try to release Jill Carroll. We have done the same with Margaret Hassan. We engage
That's hostage
continuously.
trading. That's
We
not-
were
that's-
against
that's
the
Okay,
Taliban.
wait a minute. I got to jump in here because the point is made here, and this comes up over and over again, that when we talk about the most radical of Muslims, they're the ones who get the attention. The whole of the faith gets painted with this brush by the kinds of pictures we're showing today of burning buildings. As awful as it is there a fair point being made here that this clearly is not representative?
Absolutely, and if we look,
Christopher, please.
Well, that's for Muslims to decide. If they want to condemn this, they can, but actually a lot of Muslim governments have instead, and authorities, have instead joined the condemnation of the cartoons and urged the Danish government to bring pressure on the free press in Denmark.
because
It's
they are
absolutely-
this opportunity to pursue their ends is a different discussion. What we are discussing now is why would we offend the very identity of 1.2 billion people who are needed for us to...
Get closer. That still works. Still works. Still works? Yeah, I don't need a new one yet. Okay, new phone. Just need a promo code. Shouldn't be too...
Cheers. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.
But it's curiosity as to where we are, what we are. Is very much more exciting to discover we're on a ball, half of it sticking upside down. It's spinning around in space. There's a mysterious force which holds us on. It's going around a great big glob of gas that's burning fueled by a fire that's completely different than the fire, any fire we can make. Well, now we can make that fire, nuclear fire. But that's a much more exciting story to many people than the tales which other people used to make up who worried about the universe, that we were living on the back of a turtle or something like that. They were wonderful stories, but the truth is so much more remarkable. And so what's the pleasure in physics is that, to me, is that as it's revealed, the truth is so remarkable, so amazing.